Hey guys, ZAS here. This is the U5. U5 is a portable projector by a company called OVO. A little bit about the company. So OVO is a company based in Taiwan, and they primarily provide streaming TV services in Taiwan, sort of like YouTube TV or Sling TV here in the States. And what they have done is that in addition to providing these streaming services, they have also started making projectors, and the two projectors that they make right now, they're both portable. The U5 that I'm reviewing today and the upgraded K2, and they have integrated their streaming services in with the projectors, and I'll explain that once we power the projector on. Right, so back to the U5. As I mentioned before, this is a portable projector, and this is in fact the definition of a portable projector. It is tiny, as you can see. It's also very light. It weighs just over 1 pound, but don't let the size fool you. It actually packs a lot of punch in its small package. So yeah, let's go ahead and open the box and see what's inside. Inside the box we have the projector, the remote, two AAA batteries, user manual, there's a DC charger, and there's a brown leather strap that goes across the projector that makes it easier to carry it around. So along with the user manual, there's also a thank you card included in the box, and there's an email to reach the support team. You can scan the QR code to get different ways to contact them. In fact, I did have a couple of questions, and I'm happy to say that the support team was extremely responsive, and so yeah, I was definitely pleased by that. So thank you, OVO, for standing behind your product. So taking a closer look at the remote, if I were to just nitpick, and this is not a complaint per se, but I wish it was white because the projector is white, but other than that, it's actually a pretty decent remote. I think it's one of the kind that you would find in a higher end projectors. A lot of quick access buttons to adjust keystone focus. There's a voice assistant built in, and there's also this cool little button for putting the remote in the mouse function, and I'll explain the need for that when we go into the details. But yeah, definitely love the remote. Very, very functional and useful. Taking a closer look at the projector, there's a brown leather strap that just makes it very easy to carry it around. That's what the front looks like. There's the lens, the IR sensor, both the front and the back. There are vents to keep it running cool. And there are also two 3-watt speakers that actually sound very good. On the top is the power button, and I do like these rounded edges, kind of makes it look classy. In the back are all the ports. There's a DC in, HDMI, USB, there's the audio out, the 3.5mm. There's a little hole to reset the projector in case the settings are not accessible. On the bottom there are the 4 rubber feet. There's also a 1/4-inch threaded hole in the middle in case you want to mount it on a tripod stand like this one. And the cool thing is that it is super light, so that makes it very easy to move it around to get the picture aligned in any direction, in any area that you want to. So these are all the detailed specs for the U5. Some of the key ones: brightness is 300 ANSI lumens, native resolution of 720p, contrast ratio of 5000 to 1. It is an LED light source rated at 30,000 hours. Throw ratio is 1.2 to 1, which means you can get about 100 inches from 9 feet away. It does have autofocus and auto keystone, 2 GB of RAM, 16 GB storage, 2 3-watt speakers. It weighs about 1.59 pounds. It has one HDMI, one USB 2.0, and one 3.5mm port. So the setup is actually very simple and fast. Once you select your language, you'll be given the option to connect to a Wi-Fi network, and once you're connected, it will look for software updates. And if there isn't one, that's it, you're up and running, and basically in a matter of seconds, you'll be on the home screen. So guys, that's what the home screen looks like. In the middle, that's the live TV section. So I believe that is part of OVO's streaming service. Now they have about 100 channels here. I'm assuming they have a lot more. but this is just what's included free with the U5. And there's a lot of different countries here, like Russia, Poland, China, Taiwan, United States, and a lot of different genres: entertainment, news, sports. There is an option to turn it off in the settings if you don't want to watch it. If you just want a static screen. I personally like the feel of it. It makes it more dynamic, kind of more fluid home screen, as opposed to a static, what we're used to. But yeah, if you do not like it, if you find it distracting, you have the option to turn it off. So on the home screen, if you scroll up, you can access the autofocus, the HDMI source. You can toggle between standard mode, eco mode, power saver mode. Right next to it, you have the settings, your Wi-Fi network, and to the right is the battery level indicator telling you how much charge is left in the U5. So speaking of battery life, the U5 will give you about 2 hours in the battery saver mode and about an hour in the standard mode. And if you feel like you need a longer battery life, say for a camping trip or an outdoor movie night, I would suggest getting an external battery pack like this one that I got on Amazon. What I like about this one is that in addition to USB-C out and USB-A, it also has a DC out, and it comes with a DC charging cable, which is what you would need for a projector like this one. So highly recommend it. I'll leave the link in the description, and it would extend the battery life by a good 5-6 hours. So back to the home screen, guys. If you scroll down, that's where you'll find all your apps and your app store, and any apps you download from the app store, you can add them there. And I'll talk about app store in detail. If you go further down, there's the option to restart or completely power off. There's also this cool thing called one-click acceleration, and what that does is if you click on that, it basically closes all the unused apps in the background. It cleans all the cache, so it keeps your projector running smoothly. So if you ever feel like it's lagging, just click on that and it will pretty much clean all the cache and keep it running smoothly. So guys, like I had mentioned earlier, in its tiny frame, the U5 actually packs quite a powerful punch, and one of the key things about this projector is that it is a smart projector. It comes with its own OS, which is OVO's patented OS. It's a version of TV 9.0, and as you can see in the App Store, in the OVO App Store, you can pretty much find all the major apps that you would need, whether it's YouTube, Netflix, Disney, HBO. But the coolest thing is that if there's an app that's missing, you also have access to Google Play Store. Just sign into your Google Google account, and you have access to full Google app. And the only thing is that you will need to use it as a mouse. You will need the mouse function, and thankfully the remote that is included by just clicking this button becomes a mouse remote, and then you can just move it around like one of those air remotes. You can use that to install apps, update apps, delete apps. So I thought that was pretty cool that that was included with the remote. You also have the option to add apps to your home screen. So if there's an app, your favorite, if you like an app that you use quite often, you can just add them to the home screen by clicking on the plus sign. So definitely impressed with the App Store. And if you don't want to use an external device like a Fire TV stick or a Roku stick, the option to download from the App Store is actually pretty cool. So next we'll look at all the different settings options. You can access settings by scrolling up from the home screen. You can also just directly access settings from the remote control by just clicking the settings button. So first off, you have your Wi-Fi network information under accounts and users. So if you've added any Google accounts, that's where they would show up. You can add accounts, you can delete accounts there. In display settings, you have the option to watch the live TV on the home screen in full screen mode every time you turn on the projector. At the same time, if you don't want to watch it at all, this is where you can turn it off. So in the device preferences, you can allow installation of apps from unknown sources. You can allow third-party apps to start at boot, but I like to keep it off. I feel like it might be a drain on the battery. You also have your shutdown timer, date and time, language, all the usual stuff, your storage, where you would find out how much internal storage you have left, system update, where you would go for software updates if there are any updates available. That's where you would go, and of course the option to reset it to factory default settings. Guys, in the projection settings, that's where all the fun stuff is. So in the projection mode, you can set it up the way you like it. If it's front projection or if you're hanging it by a ceiling, it also can be used in rear projection, so behind the screen. In the image adjustments, you can adjust brightness, contrast, saturation, hue, sharpness. All those things can be tweaked to your liking. In the power mode, you can toggle between standard, which is the brightest mode, and economic, or energy saving, which is the battery saver mode, which will prolong the battery to its max of 2 hours. So this does have auto keystone, although I'm one of those guys who likes to fine tune the image until it's perfectly aligned. So I do like the 4-point adjustment that this projector provides, the 4-point keystone adjustment, and I thought it worked exceedingly well. And because it works so well, I thought that I was able to get a perfect 16:9 image just about anywhere. So you can just lay it on the bed and get an absolutely perfect 16:9 image on the ceiling. Or if in case you have an angle ceiling like we do in our bedroom, still not a problem. The image is absolutely perfect. In our backyard, we have a 100-inch pull down screen, and thanks to the 4-point keystone, the image was aligned perfectly. And this is just a long-winded way of saying that I love the 4-point keystone adjustment that U5 has. So just like keystone, it does have autofocus, although if you like to fine-tune like I do, you can always go into manual focus and just click up and down on the arrows until both the plus sign in the middle and the little text at the bottom of the screen are in perfect focus. You also have the option to allow it to boot up to an HDMI source every time it powers on. That way, if you have a streaming device plugged in, it'll always go to that. In the Bluetooth section, you can turn on the Bluetooth. You can connect it to a Bluetooth headphones. I had no issues connecting it to my Bluetooth soundbar. Last but not least, there is the one-click acceleration. I think I had already demonstrated that. That is just to release all the cache. So yeah, those are your settings, guys. Alright guys, so let's talk about the speakers. U5 has two 3-watt speakers, and they're actually surprisingly good, especially given the size of the projector, and there's a surprisingly good amount of bass. I'll play a demo from, I think it's a Dolby Atmos demo that I usually play for all these audio demos. And the reason I like that demo is because it isn't just the audio, but the visual is pretty good too. It's like it has a 3D effect with the glass breaking and a baseball up close. So here's the demo. It's about 48 seconds long.
You won't just hear glass break. You'll hear a slightly battered and bruised baseball fly past your right ear as a cloud of debris blooms and shards of glass trail overhead. Just before gravity takes hold, scattering chaos to the four corners of the room. While the sound of a scared little kid running like hell fades away in the distance.
Alright guys, so enough about all of that. Let's talk about the one thing that most of you care about, the image. I do like the image a lot on this projector. I think in this demo video you can see that the contrast is absolutely brilliant. At 5000 to 1 you don't expect this kind of contrast, but between the different colors you can see how distinct the contrast is. Flesh tones look very natural on this. I mean, that's one of my pet peeves, and I feel like that's where most of these projectors end up failing me. In this scene from Mad Max Fury Road, you can see how brilliant the colors look, and the contrast between the sky and the ground is just brilliant. One of the reasons I had wanted a portable projector was for outdoor viewing. It's summer in New York, and I love watching baseball outdoors in my backyard. As you can see, the backyard is very well lit between the lamppost, the swimming pool lights, and the neighbors' lights. There's a lot of ambient lighting, but even with all that lighting, image looks great. I mean, it's more than watchable. Obviously, as soon as you dim the lights a little bit, the image just becomes that much more brilliant. So yeah, absolutely happy with the way the U5 performs outdoors. So my overall impressions, guys, is that I do like this projector a lot. I think image looks very good. especially for native 720p projector at in image size exceeding 70-80 inches. Even at 120 inches, I thought I didn't see any pixelation or loss of focus. So definitely impressed with the image. I think it sounds good. The internal speakers are pretty decent with a good amount of bass. Battery life is decent, 2 hours max, but you can extend that by using an external battery pack, so that's not an issue. Overall, yeah, I think it more than meets my needs. I hope you guys find this review useful. If you have any questions, if you have any comments, definitely hit me up. Alright guys, that's my review. Until next time.